Trump administration has just opened up a vast new pool of people to target for removal from the country. According to the New York Times, federal agents are now arresting foreign citizens with expired U.S. visas as they travel through airports. That even includes spouses of Americans. According to the New York Times, immigration agents in plain clothes have whisked away targets at check-in counters and arrival gates, with enforcement actions in at least 15 airports in recent weeks. Joining me now is Alan Orr, immigration attorney. He's also the former president of American Immigration Lawyers Association. Alan, can you explain what the typical process has been in the past when someone's visa expires and how that runs counter to what we're watching in these videos?
So generally at airports, you don't enforce civil crimes. So these is a criminal sort of reaction to civil crimes. And therefore, you wouldn't have this sort of thing in the past. And just because someone's visa is expired doesn't mean their stay is expired. And that's the problem, that they're sort of assessing complex immigration at the airport.
If a client calls you today and says, I have a valid work permit or a pending green card application, but my visa is expired and I have a domestic flight tomorrow, what's your advice to them based on what you're saying?
Have a lawyer and maybe not take that flight. Now, it's not the time for people with questionable status or undocumented status to be in airports unless you already have a lawyer on hand and you're prepared for what can happen.
Many of the people being targeted, like Chantel Morales Rojas, have open applications and work permits granted by DHS. So how is ICE detaining individuals who are actively complying with the immigration processes? They're doing their check-in, they have pending applications, yet this is what's happening.
So this is the confusion, because you just said a person was arrested, they had to get bond, and they were released. So basically, you're just going through a process of enforcing something that has no possibility of actually impacting that individual and putting it into a removal court that already has 3 million case backlog. So not very helpful.
Would you anticipate this happening, increasingly here?
Absolutely. It is the next frontier of all enforcement for United States airports, and that's how they're within a 100-mile radius of these airports. So there's going to be large enforcement actions. And so now is not the travel between states if you have questionable status.
This airport surge is unfolding right as hundreds of thousands of people are also losing legal protections elsewhere. The past week, DHS said that temporary protected status for Haitians was officially terminated. There's some legal limbo, though apparently the Washington Post writes, quote, lawyers say that TPS cannot officially end until lower courts execute a Supreme Court ruling and officially allow the Trump administration to terminate the program. Who's right and where is this going?
So it has been terminated, and that's why we see this check-in that you had earlier in your station that's happening in Ohio. But this is really the fallacy of detention. Why are we having people come to check-in to give them ankle bracelets? Because if they're going to come to the check-in, then they will come to the court appointment, so we're just wasting time and money. It also undermines this whole detention strategy, billions of dollars wasted, detaining people when you could just give them ankle monitors and we wouldn't have this inhumane society that's sort of happening with 77,000 individuals detained and private companies making money. So really the fallacy here is that you have to have this sort of all enforcement. We're making choices what to do with our money rather than do maybe SNAP or some other benefits for the American people. What we're doing is doing harm and hate, which isn't benefiting us in any way.
How high is the panic right now for folks that are no longer protected by TPS?
On a scale of 10, it's 1,000.
And when you're talking about ankle monitors here, what is the psychology that comes with that and the extent to its impact on communities that have large immigrant populations like this?
The ankle monitor is just to tell someone that they're a criminal, to take the humanity away from them. It really isn't doing any type of enforcement. It's not removing them. It's not helping the system. It's just costing us dollars and dollars. It's interesting to me that we can have ankle bracelets, but we don't have any body cameras for these ICE officers, right? We have 300,000 ankle bracelets, but we can't get 20,000 cameras on these officers. So it really isn't doing anything but sort of stoking the fear of saying immigration is about criminalization. And what we need now for people to show those ankle bracelets. We need to make America be embarrassed by what we're doing to the people here and treating them as cattle rather than as individuals.
And then for those that are trying to, represent, like yourself, immigrants in these communities, I mean, the difficult part is there's such a large number of people with varying situations. Either they were protected by TPS, overstayed their visas, but we're going through the application process to have them extended, or some folks who have undocumented family members that, have spouses here that are American citizens. How do you and your associates begin to even represent the mass number of folks that we are talking about that on a daily basis are facing new levels of removal or deportation orders?
It's very scary because every day immigration law is changing. There are probably around 18,000 immigration attorneys within the American Immigration Lawyers Association, and we have to represent the million. And right now, it's not just about the undocumented, it's also the documented. Mm-hmm. Everyone's on call. Every application is a question. Right now, we're doing all this enforcement to remove people from the country, but we're not doing the same thing to give people status because we have long delays in all of our application systems.
The Trump administration, there's 2.5 years left. what would be your message to documented or undocumented immigrants that are existing in communities now about what they should be prepared for?
Be prepared is the main answer. You need to be prepared whether you have a visa or you don't have a visa, just in case you're detained. Carry your documents with you at all times. And that's just not for them, that's for every American right now, because we've seen tons of Americans get caught up in this ICE enforcement and be detained for 30 to 60 days. So this is for everyone to have their documents, to make sure you have a lawyer and a plan so that you can have a resource just in case when it happens, you're prepared.
Alan Orr, immigration attorney and former president of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. Thanks for joining us, and take care here in these weeks ahead. Appreciate your time.